I'm busy deploying the Azure Web Service to Microsoft Azure. I'm just going to wait for that process to continue, and then begin the demo showcasing the functionalities required for part 3 of the POE. Once the site is deployed, it will take us to the functionalities. So let's just give it a second to warm up, and then we'll be directed to that section. Below we can see that the URL for the site is now live. So all I can do is just click it, and it takes us to the deployed site. We can see by this URL, which has the name of the project as well as the Azure default URL. So what we're able to see on this deployed site are the venues that we have. Let's give it a second to warm up. Free tier is a little bit slow. Right, now it's warmed up. Now the site is behaving normal. Yeah, so Azure is a little bit slow on this free instance, but it's still fine. It's still fine. It's what we can afford. Okay, so what we are seeing on this page, right, is the bookings page. So the bookings page, we're able to essentially filter by, for example, we're able to filter by booking ID, and then clear it. We're able to filter by the actual name of the event, for example, which is quite nice. You can clear that, and we have a date range selector. So the date range selector allows us to select a specific range. So let's say from the 1st of the month to the 17th. That should only return 2, because the other one is on the month at the end of the month. So when we search that, and then within that same range, we can also maybe type fresh shows, allowing multi conditions. So you can see the function as allows for certain inputs to be null in the search string. I think I added a question mark there in the function, so that if it's null, it still allows for the search query to execute. Right. So yeah. So it's try conditional. It's try conditional in the sense that you can basically have advanced filtering for the date range, as well as and then also with what was required in the rubric, particularly was, if I search here, which part are we at? It wanted us to basically have an event type filtering. So that is implemented with the lookup table. So let me showcase how that was done within the application solution explorer. Let's go to our models, and then so basically we have a model, right, with the event category. So category ID, the name, and then of course our navigation entity, our navigation function. So this is within our database context. So within our database context, we are creating this. We're using model builder, right? So for the event category, we are basically populating these fields. So it's just a normal collection, like a list or an array or whatever. But now we're just adding these conditions, because these are the parameters which are expected within our event category class. So within our event category class, when we go to event category, you can see that there's only 2 parameters, which is the ID and the name. So naturally, it's actually obvious to know that our collection would then of course have to have these conditions met, because they're not set to null. This is a primary key, of course, and then this is not set to null, so we'd have to have that. So that's essentially how it is. So our DB context basically injects these categories within our but we can of course amend this using basic SQL queries, but we needed to have categories within our database. So we have these categories set within this using the model builder object, right? And then model builder object, and then of course enter the entity of this specific model, and then we basically just import all of our categories so that we have categories for our events. So now what we then have, okay, I think other code is boring. Let me go out and continue with the demonstration. So what we have basically then is this lookup table with our implemented event types that we have in our database. So we have we have provisional data, but we can of course amend it to add more in our database using basic Azure SQL, so that we can increase the categories that are offered in the UI. So so now when we go to our application and we say, for example, community, we're able to, when we are creating an event, this is when we basically assign the category. You can see how they were created using the model builder object. And then, for example, then we can just say seminar, and then you can say freshers 8, then 9,000, and you can say create. That was 9,000. I don't know how I put so many zeros by mistake. Okay, all right. So I've created another event called freshers on the month end called freshers 8, which ends on the 31st as well. It's a seminar event. So this cannot obviously happen on at the same venue as South Downs College. If I try to make an event, if I try to make a booking for a particular venue, because of course of the clash. So there's preventions that prevents double bookings, of course. But that has not changed from the previous. I think that has really changed, just this, and then I added this and migrated that to the database. And then so now when we're creating a booking, I'm just going to try, of course, freshers 8. I won't be able to select a venue that has been booked before. I think this one should not allow a booking because there's already a booking at this specific venue. But I can probably try Cosmo City. I don't think Cosmo City has been taken, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so Cosmo City hasn't been taken, so it allows the booking. So that just showcases the validations. And similarly to venues, we can also filter by specific date ranges and to basically filter our bookings as well by date range, as well as booking ID. So for example, I just want the 2 from that specific condition, which allows that same try conditionality. Yeah, so yeah, essentially the application still functions 100% exactly as previous, but now let me focus mainly on Azure. So we can see our database migrations were successful. We can see the models, the booking entity, which is of course is a bridge entity utilizing these 3 IDs, and then we are checking the for example, this is the event category ID and the conferences. So you can see I can easily add more IDs and venues, and then events. I have this. I have these events which you can see in the UI, as well as the venues you can see. So the database is fully functional and operational, and you can also see the blob storage URL here. But let's go and see it actually. So now if we go to blob storage accounts, and we come here to the containers, you should be able to see within the venue images, you can see the 2 pictures that I have within our blob storage. So yeah, so these are basically the images I have in the blob storage. I just wish I could open it, but yeah, but these are basically the venue images that are connected. So yeah, that just showcases the blob storage. What else is wanted to be seen? So the migration is shown, the blob storage is shown, and the app configuration is correct with the production keys. So the production keys, we can see them here in the app settings JSON. But ironically enough, right, once the application is deployed, the configurations, I just need to minimize all of this, settings JSON. So in the app settings JSON, we can see there's the connection. For example, this is the connection to Azure, and then this is the connection to the blob storage. Right, so, and then this is the container name, and essentially that. Right, so the connection string for the Azure connection string, I just changed the default, and then in my program CS, I just changed that connection string to reference this one here. But I was told actually that there's another way to configure it, but yeah, I just did the classic way of just changing the connection string. But there's a way to override the app settings JSON for actual deployment, but this is just for school assignments, so it's fine. Yeah, so the configurations are set, and then live deployment, you can see that the URL is live, and there's no server startup errors, as you can see with this URL. And what else can we see? Yeah, and then I just want to make it easy for the marker, and then all features and search booking work in the live environment. Yeah, so all the features are working within the deployment, and yeah, all the features in the web application still work as advertised. Yeah, so we can filter, of course, right? There isn't any private functions, so we should get nothing. Yeah, so events and venues we can edit. We can still edit. The CRUD functionalities remain. Cosmicity 4. We can save that. Right, simple toast message, and then we have, of course, the bookings, where you can see the details of the booking. Right, you can go back to list. You can edit the booking and try and change the venue, but like I said, remember, it won't work because this venue has been taken for this particular date. Oh, it hasn't been taken. Oops. Yes. Yeah, so it allowed, but if I try to change this one to this venue because of the same date, this will fail. So let's change that to South Downs College to show the error handling. Save changes. It fails because it was already been taken, which works, which is what we want. So essentially, the bookings, you can still create a venue, you can still create a booking, you can still create an event. So let me create another event. Let's say midstream. Arrival. Just click a picture. Just override this. So this is just to showcase blob storage in real time, so you can see blob storage works. And if we go back to the container and I refresh this, you should be able to see the new picture. There's the new picture of, yeah, There should be a way to view this, man. Snapshots. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, but that just showcases that the blob storage works and the images have been saved to the blob storage. And if I am to go to Azure again and I go to app services, right? No, if I go to my database, right, and if I go to the table, I think that's where you can actually see it work. So yeah, so let's connect query editor, go to the tables, and then I go to venues. So if you see the venue, you can see this is the URL for the blob storage. So if I go to this URL, I should be able to see that picture. This, man. Okay. It's difficult to copy, but this is basically, yeah, evidence that we just added this specific venue and there it is in the database. And yeah, so now I just have to drop our resource. So I'll drop the resource and then I'll update the video. Deleted. So now when we go back to Azure, we'll be able to see that we no longer have a storage account. We no longer have a database. We don't have app services. We don't have database services. No longer have databases. Everything has been deleted, so we can no longer. Yeah, so the resource has been sufficiently deleted, and there's nothing left.